Hi, everyone. Welcome to our virtual author event tonight. Thank you for supporting your locally owned independent bookstore in Books and Books. We're thrilled to be here and to be in partnership with Miami Book Fair and Culture Crusaders for this wonderful series of events. Tonight, we have the honor of hosting Cami Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo in conversation with Jennifer Niven about their new graphic novel, Teen Titans Beast Boy. Cami Garcia is the #1 New York Times, USA Today, and international best-selling co-author of the Beautiful Creatures and Dangerous Creatures novels. Beautiful Creatures has been published in 50 countries and translated into 39 languages. Cami's solo series, The Legion, includes Unbreakable, an instant New York Times bestseller, and its sequel, Unmarked, both of which were nominated for Bram Stoker Awards. Her other works include The X-Files Origins, Agent of Chaos, and the YA contemporary novels, The Lovely Reckless and Broken Beautiful Hearts. Cami was a teacher for 17 years before co-authoring her first novel on a dare from 7 of her students. She is a founder of YALLFest, the biggest teen book festival in the country, and she lives in Maryland with her family. Gabriel Piccolo is a Brazilian comic artist and illustrator based in Sao Paulo. His work has become known for its strong storytelling and atmospheric colors. Piccolo has developed projects for clients such as Blizzard, Boom Studios, HarperCollins, and DeviantArt. He is prolific and extremely popular on social media with more than 2.5 million followers. Our conversant tonight is the wonderful Jennifer Niven. She's the #1 New York Times and internationally best-selling author of All the Right Places and Holding Up the Universe. Her books have been translated into over 75 languages and have won literary awards around the world. The All the Right Places film, starring Elle Fanning and Justice Smith, is currently streaming on Netflix with a script by Jennifer and Liz Hanna and was produced by our owner, Mitchell Kaplan. We love it. It's wonderful. Jennifer's latest YA novel, Breathless, will be released worldwide on September 29th, and we get to have the launch right here. So we're really excited. When she isn't working on multiple book and TV projects, she also oversees Germ, a literary web magazine for high school age and beyond. We're very lucky to have these guys with us tonight. We're super excited for this event. Before I hand this over to them, I want to point out a couple of things on your screen. The first is in the bottom right corner, the Ask a Question button. That is where that's what we're going to use for the Q&A. So instead of putting your questions in chat, go ahead and put them there so they don't get lost. And the second and most important thing is the big green button right below me, which will be there all night. That will bring you where you need to go to buy a copy of Teen Titans Beast Boy. All of the copies we send out, whether it's for store pickup or we're shipping it to you, are going to come with swag. That's great, a poster and a keychain and a signed booklet. So take advantage while we have them, while supplies last. And with that little piece of information, I'll hand this over to Jennifer, Gabriel, and Cami.
Thank you so much, Christina.
You're welcome.
This is amazing. First and foremost, I want to congratulate you all on this beautiful book. It is so gorgeous in its words and in its beautiful art, and I'm just obsessed with it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yay! I'm probably going to be doing this the whole time because it's amazing. I have a couple of questions, a lot of questions about the collaboration process, but I thought I'd start by asking Cami if you could talk about the first time you came across Gabriel's art.
So DC, asked me if I would look at some artists, and I liked all of them, but they didn't have it's it's like kind of when you see it, it didn't have like that feeling. So I was like looking around the internet and searching things, and I was on Pinterest, which is like my favorite place, and I was searching Teen Titans, and these this art popped up of Teen Titans wearing like regular clothes, like Letterman jackets and sneakers and jeans. And I was obsessed with it. And I just, how you can click and it like leads you to more stuff that's similar. It just led me to like this rabbit hole of Gabriel Piccolo art. And I found out that the series he did was called Casual Teen Titans, and he'd done all this fan art of the Teen Titans with exactly like the vibe I was going for. And so it felt weird because I was super excited, but I also was like worried, he's like an illustrator. He hasn't done comics with DC. They probably wouldn't hire him, but I thought I would at least show it to them. And but they did know who he was, and they also loved his work. So that's kind of how that was the beginning of the path to Gabriel.
That's so fortuitous.
At some point, at some point, I even sent my portfolio to DC for them to analyze it. That was 2016. I was still very, very green, like very unexperienced. I still didn't have any sequentials on my portfolio, but I still sent it anyways, and I was rejected by that time. And then it blew my mind when DC approached me, kind of like a year later. I think it was late 2017 when they approached me asking if I wanted to do a whole graphic novel with them. It was insane.
But you did a lot of stuff in that year, like Gabriel.
Oh yeah.
He put a lot of
throughout
art
that
out
year.
there
I did a lot of DC content.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love stories like that. They're just so exciting when the right people come together to make a beautiful project. And I was reading, Gabriel, that Beast Boy is actually your favorite of the Teen Titans.
Yeah,
is
definitely.
that correct?
Yeah, by
Can
far.
you talk a little bit about that? Like, how long have you loved Beast Boy?
When I first watched the Teen Titans cartoon, which was my first connection to these characters, my favorite actually used to be Robin. But as I grew up, I thought, hey, no, maybe Beast Boy is the better one, because he has this sense of humor, and he's always very chill and very easygoing, and also his superpower is the best for me, which is shape-shifting into whatever animal he wants. So I think that's the most funniest superpower to have. So he basically became my favorite.
He also looks a little like Gabriel. They have the same hair.
Oh yeah,
definitely
the
hair
is
like. I was thinking the whole time I was reading it, I was thinking, now that I'd seen Gabriel's, I was like, oh, the hair, I can see. So the question, I guess, is the hair, like, did that come first, or did Beast Boy come? It's the chicken and the egg thing.
I think it's the chicken and the egg thing, because I sometimes I get inspiration from the stuff that I draw, and sometimes it's the opposite. So it's it happens both ways.
Well, this is your second collaboration. Is that right? Because your first was this one, Raven. And I'm just interested in what it looks like for you all to work together, especially being in different parts of the world. Like, could you talk a little bit about what comes first, the words, illustrations, or is it a combination?
So I did the pitches before Gabriel was attached to the project. So I had the basic outline for the story, but I didn't start writing until I had him, like not in earnest, because I really wanted to know who my artist was, and I wanted to get their take on the character so I could kind of, design some of the scenes and the backdrops for things they would like. And so one of the things Gabriel and I did that was really helped, like now that I understand the graphic novel process better, I realize how lucky I was that we did this first, is we talked about the characters, and he did all these character designs, and we like talked about her, Raven, and Max, who he designed her foster sister from scratch. He would send me like hairstyles and clothes and jackets. It was kind of like it was like the coolest version of paper dolls you could ever play, where I would just be like, I like these shoes, and I like this jacket, and I like, and I like the space buns. And Gabriel like built the characters. And then it was so cool because then I would start working, and it was a lot easier to write down, things like what I thought would be in their rooms. And then the more I got to know him, the more leeway I would give him, because I knew I could just say, Raven's in her super cool bedroom with posters all over the walls, and he will just know what posters he should make.
Yeah, she can just
Amazing.
put a vibe there, like put a very very vague description, and I just work from it, and then I show it to her, and then we can add this or remove that, and that's basically how it works.
That's amazing.
It's so
just
fun.
wanted-
Like, yeah, it's really
It's
fun
just-
because it's like, it really is like your chocolate and peanut butter. You like, he has ideas, I have ideas, and we like put them together and they make this like really cool thing. And Beast Boy was even more fun because on Raven, we were both nervous because we hadn't done it before. And there's deadlines, like you have to do it and you have to do it in a certain amount of time. So we could, like, as we got to the second half, we experimented more. But in Beast Boy, we already knew how it worked. So we could, like, I could do all these fun things. Like, I would plan pages. Like, there's a page where Beast Boy's getting ready in the morning and Gabriel collects sneakers. He's a sneakerhead. So I like made it so he was in his closet and you got to see like Beast Boy's sneaker collection. And it's like, I don't know if I would have done as much of that if it was our first book, because I would have been, more worried about time. But this way I kind of knew. And I also learned from Gabriel that the more I put in stuff he likes to draw, the easier and faster it is for him to draw.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and tell them, Gabriel, what did you not like to draw in Raven? What was your least favorite thing to draw?
I wouldn't even say the least favorite, but I always have trouble with backgrounds and environments, because they take a lot of time. But especially on Raven, Raven takes place in New Orleans, which has a very very specific aesthetic. So that made those environments funnier for me to draw in a way.
But I don't think people would believe that if they see Raven, because the backgrounds are so good. I don't think anyone would believe you had trouble with them.
No, I would not expect that answer at all. No.
Very specifically, the Voodoo Shop. I think that was the most complex page I've ever drawn. It's so full of details, stuff hanging from the ceiling. That page was insane to draw.
And I sent him all these photos, and he took like 10 different pictures, like from all these different places, and like compiled them into like one image, which is so cool.
Yeah. And this is also another thing, because I haven't been in most of the places in the US that I get to draw. So I count on Cammy's reference for me to get an idea of that place. And she did that a lot with New Orleans and the places that happened, that she put on Raven.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads me to my next question, which was, I'd love to hear from each of you about your individual creative process. Whether you're working with a collaborator or you're working on your own, I just loved, and I'm sure audience members would love to know about that as well.
So for me, after I know with any artist what the characters look like, then I work on the script. And I really, Brian Michael Bendis, who is created the Spider-Verse, and now is at DC, and he does Young Justice and all different stuff, Superman. He was speaking at something that I was at, and he said, your script is like a letter to your illustrator. Like, that's basically what it is. It's not for like the editors, it's for your illustrator. So you write it the way that your illustrator will understand it. So I basically I think of it that way. If I'm writing it for Gabriel, then I think about, like, I know what kind of references he likes. I know sometimes I might say things like, she rolls her eyes, but sometimes in parentheses I'll say, or if you have a cooler expression, as long as she looks sarcastic. And like, I do things like that because I know what he's good at, and I kind of know, and I also know that there's specifics he wants that he doesn't want me to say whatever you want. Like, he wants to know, is it in the forest? Are there a lot of trees?
Because then I'm going to ask you later, right?
Right. Like, I know he's like, don't
no
let me make up the trees. Like, just tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
So Gabriel, when you get the script, what do you do, like, before you start the page? What's your process once you get a page for the script?
For me, I have to imagine the scene in my head. So I try whatever resources I can find to make that happen. So let's say scenes happening at a motel scene. So I need the motel to be in my head, like to how the room looks like, how the outside of the motel looks like. And I try to collect reference images for that. Because if I have a plan before starting to draw the page I can draw it better, and it flows faster. If I don't have a plan before starting the page, I just sketch and sketch and sketch until I find something that looks good, and it takes a lot of time.
And then do you work on, like, tell them you work on a tablet, right?
Oh yeah.
Which I didn't know until I
almost,
saw him doing it.
yeah, basically all of my work is digital. So I work on a tablet, on a display, on a screen, and then I draw on that screen. It's pretty cool.
But he draws with like the little pen for the tablet, so it's just like regular.
Amazing.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. What are some of your favorite aspects of collaborating with each other?
I mean, one thing I like is that,
doing
like,
it a while
I mean, my side is better because I send like words and then I get back gorgeous pages with pictures. So I feel like I have the spoiled side because I just send like, you know, some words and then I get words back with like gorgeous art. So Gabriel, like, what is it like for you if like, because you only get the words?
Because I've tried writing a script before. I've tried working on my own comics, on writing my own story, but it's really, really, really not my thing. Like the thing that I love to do is drawing. So having someone making out the plot and the dialogue and the vibe and everything, and just putting that on paper, for me is the best scenario possible.
I think it's got to be so amazing for you, Gabriel, to see your art come to life with Cammie's words and vice versa. It's just got to be this surreal, wonderful experience.
I mean, I feel like one of the things we got lucky with was because I was such a fan of his work, and I was really hoping, you know, because I didn't know if he was gonna get the job, take the job. You know, I was just like hoping because his work just felt perfect. But I feel like you know, sometimes you luck out and you work with somebody where you have the same vision. And I think one of the things is that, like, you know, I don't see Gabriel as like, you know, the illustrator. He is like my co-creator. So if he's like, you know what, I really don't like, you know, I really don't like swimming pools. Like, I'm not going to make a whole scene in the swimming pool. And we talk about the characters too. And one of the things that's important to both of us is relatability. You know, that the characters seem like real people. So I feel like when you find a person to work with and they have a similar vision, it really helps because then you're both working towards the same thing.
Yeah, I really like that word, vision. Like I think if we hadn't the same vision and if we couldn't communicate as collaborators on a project like this, we wouldn't be doing as many books together. Like, because now we've done Raven and Beast Boy, and we're just going to the next one, and it's pretty fun.
And it's also like, I mean, for Gabriel especially, it takes the illustrator, you know, he has to work on the book so much longer than I do before I get to go to the next one and have a new, you know, add a new character. And so the other thing is really like when I try to make things fun when I can, like in Beast Boy, it was really fun because Gabriel draws great animals. And I knew that from his other art. He had done all these different art series and he has lots of animals. So I knew he was good at drawing animals. And for example, like there's a page, I call it the snake page. There's a whole sequence with this snake and named Crush. And basically like I constructed the sequence because I knew he draws snakes in his work and how cool they look. So I think like also it's the idea of like, you know, trying to put these fun Easter eggs in for the artist to find and draw. So that like, especially sometimes I know pages are hard. Like there'll be a page where they're traveling or something and there's like 5 panels and it's very crowded and I know that's not his favorite. So then like when I can, I try to give him a really fun page like the sneakers.
Like for me, establishing shots are the worst because they take a lot of time. Maybe it's just one panel and it takes like a whole day of work. And the thing that I really like to draw is dialogue and character interaction, and that's the stuff that Kenny knows that I draw well. So she adds that on the script.
Well, and I love what Cami was saying about the relatability of the character, because I think one of the wonderful things you've done both with Raven and with Beast Boys, you've made them relatable. So you don't have to have superpowers to relate to these young people. They feel real. And I was amazed when I read them how real they felt. And I think that's a really wonderful, special thing that you've done with these books.
Yay.
That means
We
a
worked
lot.
hard on
Yay.
this part.
Yeah.
Because we both
can
wanted,
tell.
like, we wanted to seem like Beast Boy could be at your high school. You know, like he could just be a guy at school. That was why the reason he doesn't have green skin. He does turn green when he transforms into an animal. But, you know, and Gabriel was like, well, we could put some green in his hair, you know, like give him some green all the time. But again, like obviously if he was green all the time, his whole body, he would stand out a lot at school. So we kind of wanted to come at it from what it would be like to be a teen and then like not realize you have these powers, and then the powers kind of start to emerge and you don't really know what they are, you know, or how to use them, and you're kind of stuck with them. Because I do feel like it's very similar when you're a teen. All these kind of things happen to you, whether it's like with your body or just your parents deciding you're going to move or go to a different school. And so I feel like a lot of times, Stella, I feel like my teens are weighing in. I feel like a lot of times what happens is like you know, like you're going through these different situations that you don't really know how to deal with, and you know, it's like trial by fire.
Yeah. And I love the way his friends had their own thing, the things they knew they were good at, their passion, and he was still looking for his, because that's so relatable, no matter what
Totally.
age you are.
And Beast
I
Boy
think
is
that was
tricky because he's tricky too, because you don't, you know, Gabriel, like talk about the fact, like Gabriel's a huge fan, and you see Beast Boy a lot in the comics and in the animated series. You know, he's really funny, and he's kind of like, you know,
Sometimes
joking
you
around
can't
a lot.
be too much. You can be too much. You can be too much of a jokester and not a character. So yeah.
And Gabriel was saying when we started, he wanted us to like make, you know, like show more of him, not just
show him
funny.
yeah, experiencing stuff that is not just laughs and humor. Like I wanted to see him going through frustration and all that sort of stuff, all those different kinds of feelings.
I love that. And I love when, I can't remember who said it to him about like he's making himself a joke before anyone else can.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was almost self-deprecating, you know, but I love it because you see behind the joke.
Yeah. So one of the things I tried to think about was, and Gabriel and I talked about this a lot too, like what kind of kid would, you know, he be? Why would he be so funny? Why would he always be cracking jokes? And Gabriel was saying, you know, because he looks very young, you know, Beast Boy's like smaller than a lot of the people. He looks super young. His voice hasn't dropped. He was saying he would probably be self-conscious. So he would want to be able to kind of project that he's cool and he's not worried about anything. And so he says at one point, his friends are just like, why are you like letting people make fun of you and stuff? Like, why are you're like feeding into it? And he says like, well, like I'm doing it before they do it. And because he, you know, his attitude is like, I take the power and I make fun of myself so they can't make fun of me. And it's like a defense mechanism. And one of the things I love about his power is that, so I had to figure out how to make his power work in a way that the reader would understand, since he doesn't turn green immediately. He channels animal powers before he turns into an animal. So Gabriel and I had to like put our heads together and figure out how to do that, because I basically realized I couldn't do it by myself because I needed the art to do the work. So we talked about it. And so one of the things that I tied it to is adrenaline, fight or flight response, which again is a defense mechanism. So he's already kind of, his attitude is one defense, and then when his powers start kicking in, he channels an animal, or he starts to transform when he is either scared, upset, super angry. And so Gabriel, talk about, there's a really awesome page in there where we see kind of like the interior of the anatomy of Beast Boy. We see his heart and like his body, and it shows kind of how the reaction works inside of him. Like, how did you decide like how to do that? Yeah, so the reader could see.
Yeah, we had to. I had to show visually what was happening inside his body, and he still is not transforming. He's just incorporating that specific animal so that he can get out of the situation. So that was really, really, really tricky. All these kind of transformation pages were very, very cool. There's a specific one that I love is that he's emulating a cougar, and he's at a what's it called?
Dodgeball.
Dodgeball, yeah, he's at a dodgeball game, and then he has to emulate a cougar. That was one of my favorite pages to draw before the actual big transformation one on the end of the book.
And the transformation one, if anyone gets the book from Books and Books, there's on the book plate is the transformation is on the book plate that you get.
Yeah.
I love the way you handled him changing into the animals, because it wasn't so drastic. It was poetically done.
It's a slow burn. Like, it takes a while. What? Sorry?
She said she loves it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I love it.
Because I feel like Gabriel, did you purposely work to kind of make it seem more subtle and realistic? Like when he transformed?
Yeah, like it had to be more grounded, because if it wasn't, it would be way too much for everyone to take in, like for his friends and the guys at school. And then it's really, really nice, because when it actually happens at the end of the book, he's not like he can hide it in a way because of the situation that they're in at the end of the book.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still cool because you still get to see him transform.
Right.
And that was fun because, I was kind of waiting for it, because once Gabriel did like the cougar page, and then there's some other pages where he's using like emulating certain animals. Like then once you start seeing Gabriel draw animals, you want to see the transformation.
When I was reading the script, I was always expecting to be an animal on the next page. Like, hey, what animal I'm going to draw next? Like, I was always looking forward to that.
Well, I absolutely loved it. And I have to say, I have one complaint for both of you. And that is that it ended. And I was so I didn't know there was a little bit at the end, like a preview.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, there are more pages. And I got to the end and I was like, what is happening? I was so angry at the book, but so excited because I see that it's to be continued next fall.
Yeah, with Beast Boy Loves Raven.
So can you say anything about that?
It's really like our love letter to the readers. Like, a lot of readers were asking if we would see them together. And even though the title's Beast Boy Loves Raven, what it's really about a lot in the beginning is their friendship. Like, they meet and become friends. And you'll, when you read the books, you'll see why that part I can't give away, like why they're in the same place. But they become friends, and it's kind of about like their friendship and stuff and how they develop a relationship. But I always say, like, it's not like in the beginning, it's really just about like meeting a new person that you click with and you want to be friends with, and someone who kind of gets you and understands like what you're going through. So it's not like love at first sight or anything like that. I mean, he certainly thinks she's like gorgeous right away, but that's also very like Gar. He's like that. He has an appreciation for the ladies.
But I love that. I love that. Not just like boom, love at first sight. I love them getting to know each other.
And then
That sounds-
there's one of my favorite new characters in the book is an animal. There's a little monkey in that book that is like my favorite, literally everyone's favorite character. He's so cute. And
Is that
again,
Kong?
yes, Kong. He's a little monkey. He's so cute. And like again, it was just like, I know. And Gabriel, like when he draws it, like you don't want to not have it after that once he draws it because it's so cute. And like the giant snake in Beast Boy would have been a difficult pet to keep.
Yeah. Definitely.
There's Kong. Yep, he's so cute. And the snake didn't belong to him and needed to be returned, and also is gigantic. So he was a less practical pet.
Yeah. I love
Gabriel,
the
is
snake.
Kong as fun to draw as he is to look at?
Oh yeah, definitely. Took me a while to get the hang of it, especially because he's a tiny monkey. Because I'm used to draw like the big ones, like gorillas and stuff. So it took me a while to get the handle of it, but now I'm used to it. I love to draw it.
No, he's so cute.
He's adorable.
I know.
Well, I'm just gonna hold up both books again.
And
I
so
think
also you can read them in any order. If you haven't read Raven, you can still read Beast Boy, because the way they're designed is they happen simultaneously in two different places. So Beast Boy is happening in a small town in Georgia, and Raven is happening in New Orleans. And
but you should
at
definitely read these before next fall.
Yes, because if you
For
read,
sure.
you don't have to read them to read Beast Boy Loves Raven, but it's way more fun if you've read both of them, just because there's like little, kind of Easter eggs hidden in there. I'm not sure. Someone said so. Oh, Kathleen, you're so awesome. Kathleen Glasgow's watching us, Jennifer.
Is she? Hi, Kathleen.
Saying her 12-year-old loved the book. Yeah, I mean, like, the funny thing about these books too is that like they have a lot of young fans, but there's a lot of adults who love them too. And I feel like that also has to do with Gabriel's art, because it's fun. It's just like watching a movie that like might be rated PG, but it's like, it's like I think of it as like, like Pixar movies, like they're so fun. It's like you don't care if they're for kids. Because they're just fun to watch.
I think part of that is the beautiful art, but also the relatability that we're talking about. It's just everything together. And I know that we've got some viewers who have some questions, so maybe we can hear from the audience.
Yes, I don't know how to do that. Do you know how to do that, Jennifer?
I'm here. I'll do it.
Yay! So I was like, I don't really know how to do that part.
That was wonderful, by the way. Thank you guys so much.
They look so cute with you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
So the first question that it has the most votes, so I'm going to start there, is for Gabriel. And is it a coincidence that your hair matches Beast Boy's hair on the cover?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit, because like I said, the style thing kind of works both ways, because sometimes I add stuff from my wardrobe on the characters. Sometimes I draw stuff I want to have to wear myself, so it happens both ways.
Mm-hmm. That's cute. The next question is for both of you. What is your least favorite thing about your favorite Teen Titan character? So this is from Hannah, and she said Raven for Cammy and Beast Boy for Gabriel. So your least favorite thing?
I mean, my least favorite thing about Raven is always how hard she is on herself. That she, because, she's part demon, she sees herself as like, worries that she might not be a good person. But I like writing that because I feel like I felt like that as a teen, and I think a lot of teenagers feel that way. So I like writing that because I feel like then other people can read about it.
And Gabriel, Beast Boy?
I think the thing I like, I hate it when authors make Beast Boy not as powerful as he should be, because he can turn into literally any living creature. And sometimes he's played out as one of the weakest Titans. So that's something I really, really don't like about it.
Okay.
And I've done a lot of animal research, so I'm telling you, he's formidable.
So the next question is there a plan to write about the rest of the Teen Titans? Please say yes.
So we have plans to write about other Titans. The one thing, because I never really want to like tease people, the one thing we're always upfront about is I don't plan to write Cyborg because I want a Black writer to write him. I always say though, like if someone else wrote him or helped and like, you know, he could come in like if they all got together at some point, but I don't want to write like a first person origin story for him because I want there's so many great Black writers. I want one of them to do it. But we can't say what's next or who we might do because DC's probably watching and we would get in big trouble.
Exactly.
Yes, I think there are some DC people in the audience. For Cami, what has been your, you may have kind of touched on this, but what has been your favorite part about working in the graphic novel space?
I am actually a lean writer, meaning I don't write, like nothing I write usually gets cut. I usually get notes from an editor saying things like add more here, you know, like we need another scene. I love dialogue and I love action and like really emotional moments. I don't like getting place to place and transitions and all that other stuff. And it's great with graphic novels because like Gabriel does all that, you know, like I just say we're in a cool house and Gabriel like makes a cool house.
Yeah.
And like, so I can focus more on dialogue and things like that, or, you know, I can say things like, you know, close up of Raven, you know, her heart is breaking, she's about to cry. And like, I'll get this page back that's like heart wrenching looking. And it like captures exactly like what I needed to do.
The next one is for Gabriel. I can't see the name, but they said they're a huge fan. How long did it take for you to complete the Beast Boy book?
I think it's a pretty long process. I think it's about 9 months. What do you think, Cami? I think it's not.
I mean, he does a little bit after that's like he does like, you know, some kind of like color corrections or stuff like that. But I think
final tweaks,
I think it's about
but
8 months of like the hardcore every day turning in pages.
So pretty much whenever I'm working on another book, I know that I will be locked on that book for basically a year.
Right, because by the time he does the corrections and stuff in 9 months, and then, you know, sometimes there's like more tweaks, and then, you know, he gets a tiny break, and then he's doing events, and then it's time for the next book.
It's a lot.
And you guys, for both of you, what was it like collaborating? This is from Maria, forgot to say. What was it like collaborating to create new stories, like a new spin on characters like Raven and Beast Boy?
It's really fun, and it was really fun to create new characters. That was one of the cool things about doing origin stories was since all the Titans aren't together yet, like Beast Boy has to hang out with people, Raven has to hang out with people. So we got to create Beast Boy's best friends are Stella and Tank. Stella is like she's a gamer and she loves she volunteers at the animal rescue, and Tank is a competitive eater. He's also dyslexic, we learn at some point, and he learns. And Max is Raven's foster sister, and she's like crazy feisty. The fun thing about that is like I kind of have an idea of what they're like in my head, and I describe them to Gabriel, but then when I get the art back, they're like suddenly a real like person. That's the crazy thing about, because it's like with Raven, I know what Raven looks like. Maybe I get Gabriel's take, but I still kind of know the character. When I create a character and send it to him, like I don't know what that person looks like till he makes her.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that there's a lot of space to explore because they're origin stories, and when we see those characters on the comics, on the periodicals, they're very aware of their superpowers, and on these they're still dealing with it. It's their first connection to their superpowers. So I think that's the most interesting part of these stories.
The next question we kind of talked about. So how about from Kathleen? Were there any moments as collaborators that you disagreed?
Sometimes we disagree, But usually we like kind of like, so like if I did like there, okay, so there was one situation in Beast Boy Loves Raven where I sent a page to Gabriel and he like went a different direction. And I loved the page, but I was like, oh, we can't do this because like I need to use this kind, this animal later. And he was,
Was
and
it the gorilla page?
yeah, and he was like, Tammy, I love this page so much. I'm gonna tell you why. And like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
loved
yeah.
it too. But he was like, but I feel like this is the perfect spot for it. And he just like sold me. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna figure out how to change it, change it later. So usually like one of us will be like more passionate about whatever it is and kind of convince the other one.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
feel like
definitely.
when you collaborate, the important thing is like to come to agreement, not to like, I would never just say, well, you just have to draw that. You know what I mean? Like I want him to feel that the story elements are right. And so if he doesn't, either I have to convince him or we come to a compromise.
Yeah.
But he's really good at convincing me because when he's passionate, he's like so excited about it. So he's like,
Yeah, I really make a point.
and
If
he's
I,
like, I know
if I,
people will love it.
yeah.
And he's right. So, then I'm like, okay, I'll just write something else later.
So for Gabriel, how do you deal with, how do you handle illustration burnout? Illustrating these books takes a lot of time. How do you stay creative?
Taking one day at a time. So I tried not to draw a lot of pages in a single day, even if I have the available time. Also, I take weekends. Whenever I can, I take weekends, and I try to use those weekends to do stuff that it's not exactly drawing. So let's say play games, watch movies, or any sort of stuff that can refuel my creativity. Like, so I can use it during my weekdays when I'm actually drawing the pages. I think that's the way, because this whole process, the drawing a graphic novel is a marathon. You have to be ready for the long run.
Sorry, I'm reading the questions. Okay, if you guys were able to write or draw a Titans villain story, who would you like to tackle?
Well, my favorite Titans villain is Deathstroke. And I like him. I feel like he's a little misunderstood, and I always like a villain that isn't 100% evil. I don't like Trigon is hard. He's a demon. Like he doesn't. There's no like silver lining. But I like villains that kind of have like some redeeming qualities. Like even if they're doing the wrong thing, like there's something decent about them. And he's always been one of my favorites too, because he's enhanced, but he's like, it's really hard. Like, I don't know if I could do Superman. It's really hard to write a character that is so powerful that like there's, like it's you really need the kryptonite to take them down. I feel like that's a different kind of art. I am better with the characters that have limits, I feel like.
My favorite to work with would be Red X. Red X is a character that only appears on the cartoon, and it's a secret identity that Robin uses for a while. Then he stops using this identity, and then someone, we never know who, someone take these clothes and take the mask and starts to be the Red X, and we never get to know because the show ended. So I would love to do more stuff on that character.
That's true. Figure out who it's going to be.
What? Sorry?
Figure out who it's going to decide who it's going to be.
Exactly.
So Cami, how did you prep your story for a graphic novel format?
Well, I wrote it as a graphic novel, which helped. I didn't have it already and then adapt it. So basically I pitched the idea of doing the Titan story, and I envisioned it from the beginning as a graphic novel, because you definitely don't have as many pages as you do in a novel. So like I feel like it would be very like adaptation is probably an art, because you have to take a really big story and figure out how to condense it. With this one, I tried to picture like how much story can we tell in 180 pages. Like if I had 400 pages, it would be a totally different story. So I try to think about it that way. when I write anything, no matter what it is, I almost always know the end. Like I might never know the beginning, but I know how it's going to end. So I basically try to figure out what my midpoint, my middle is, so I can, and then it is like a dominoes game. Like I get note cards and write down 180 of them, because I need to know if what I'm doing will actually fit in the amount of pages that, Gabriel has to work with. If not, sometimes I realize like I have to get rid of that scene and use it in another book. Like it's not going to fit. That's, I think, the trick of learning how to write a graphic novel, is learning how much you can fit.
Gabriel, how many times did you have to edit finished illustrations until they were approved?
Not a lot, to be honest. It's usually like it goes like this. I send a page and then I get one round of tweaks or edits, and then I turn the pages back, and that's it.
And sometimes there's no tweaks. Sometimes they're just perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But he doesn't usually have to like redraw things. It will be more
not
like,
draw. It's usually like
like
just a small thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think they meant edit. I think this person like works in illustration and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he does make sometimes little edits, like to an expression or something, but not a lot.
I'm gonna ask you guys 2 more questions. So I think this is okay. So could you tell us about Icarus and the Sun and whether it'll be out in the future?
That's for Gabriel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the comic that I mentioned that I wrote the story. That was my first experience writing a story. Pretty crazy. It was a crowdfunded book, and right now I'm still delivering the book. After I'm done, I'm selling the book to a publisher so that it can be distributed in bookstores like Amazon and Barnes & Noble and any other bookstores.
Everyone
here in Brazil, we have Saraiva, which is a big one, Cultura, any bookstores.
Is that also the Zodiac Archer series?
No, that's a different one.
Okay, they're asking the same question.
Oh, that one, I have plans for that one, but I can't announce it yet because it's classified information.
Okay. So I'll do it. This one just popped up, so I'll do this one before the last one, which is, hey, Gabriel, why did you pick the monochromatic color palette for these books? Oh, there's more questions coming in.
On Beast Boy, there's a little bit more of color than on Raven, because we have his skin that it's brown, and then his hair, and then when we colored Beast Boy and had everyone else with a monochromatic color like we did on Raven, we saw that it was not working because everyone looked like ghosts, because Gar was very much colored. Like Raven, she just has the purple streaks on her hand, that's it. So we kind of worked on that book. So we had to develop another strategy. That's why we came up with the teals and the green tones that you can see on Beast Boy.
And why was it important to you to tell this story about struggling with self-image with Gar? Where did that concept come from? And could you share a little bit about what that process was like from Sophia?
So, Beast Boy is a character who, he's conscious of, being like small. What he really doesn't like isn't necessarily his size. It's that he looks younger than he is. So he's like mistaken for a freshman when he's really a senior, and he hates that. And I have a sister, but my sister wasn't born until I was like going to college. So growing up, I had 4 brothers. And I think that a lot of times people assume that body issues, like image issues, are just for girls. The boys don't worry about like how they look, and that's not true. So I liked the idea of playing with like a boy who was self-conscious about the way he looks, because I think that's totally normal. I think everyone is kind of self-conscious about the way they look when they're a teenager, but I think that especially girls who don't have brothers or know a lot of, have a lot of guy friends would be really surprised at how self-conscious guys are also about their bodies and the way they look. Right, Gabriel? Guys worry about the way they look, don't they?
Absolutely, yes. And I pretty much I relate to Gar because I am a very skinny guy, so I've always struggled with like gaining weight. So it's pretty relatable, I think.
All right. So my last question, you guys both ended up kind of answering, but was just like anything you want to tell us about your next project, together or apart. Anything you can share. If you already shared all you can share, then
I mean, I'm working on some other stuff. I have an unannounced DC project I can't talk about. And then they just announced Laurie Halse Anderson has an anthology coming out with DC. It's called Wonder Women of History. And I have a story in that. Mine is about the activist Emma Gonzalez. And my artist, her name is Excel. And like, you know, she's actually, I don't know how old she is, but I know she's like newer on the scene because she wrote to me. And I'm really excited because I love the idea. You know, Jennifer does this with Germ. Like, I love the idea of like young people getting like, you know, getting to like show their stuff and show how talented they are. And, you know, and with Gabriel, like he has all these millions of followers. Like people clearly already knew he was talented, but I still feel like getting the book with DC like gets his work out to like even more people, you know, and also his story is inspiring to other like people who are kids in school. Like Gabriel, you should mention, you know, like Gabriel's not classically trained. He didn't go to art school.
Oh yeah, yeah, because we don't have art schools in Brazil at all.
So Jennifer, you and Gabriel's doing Beast Boy Loves Raven. What are you doing, Jennifer? What's your next project? Can you tell us about it? At all? Well, you have a project coming out the end of this month.
I do. I have
I'm so
Breathless is
excited for
coming
mine
out
to
on
come
the
in the
20th.
mail.
So I'm in that kind of, I'm excited, I'm scared to death phase.
No, it will.
And I'm also working on my next solo YA, and I'm writing the film script for Holding Up the Universe.
So not much.
Yeah.
just
A couple things here, and then a couple things I can't talk about yet.
That's the one thing that's hard about being a writer is you always have things you can't talk about because you write the books so much, you know, like further in advance of when they're going to be released. So you always have like secrets that you're dying to tell everyone and you can't tell them.
Well, thank you all for being here, Jennifer, Gabriel, and Kimmy. This was wonderful. I want to once again point out that big green button at the bottom of your screen, whether you're watching now or later, it'll work. We'll send you a book, we'll send you swag and a signed book plate as long as we have them. We really appreciate everyone's support, everyone who tuned in. Of course, again, you guys on the screen with me. We've got lots of events coming up, including a launch for Jennifer's next list on January 29th. And some DC events coming up in the next month. So keep an eye on us, and we hope to see you again soon. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Gabriel.